Welcome to How to Host an Event in Norris 101. This short presentation is intended to answer our most frequently asked questions around my org wants to host an event and needs space. Now what? The Norris team is always available to meet with you to further dig into anything in here or just be a resource as you navigate event planning in our spaces. Most of us are located on the third floor of Norris right as you get off the elevator, so come visit us or reach out anytime to dig deeper into any of this. First things first, what is Norris? Well, Norris is a building, of course, but it is also a department. We facilitate events in and around Norris itself, but also oversee events in our 7 satellite spaces around campus. If you ever hear the term PSV, we are referring to the Norris Performance and Satellite venues. Let's go through a quick rundown of our spaces. Of course, we have the Norris University Center. Most spaces in this building are reservable through our department. A few spaces are reservable in different ways, but we can always be your first stop and help you find the right person if you are looking for spaces like the game room or ones that we don't manage directly. So in addition to the building, we have all of these PSV spaces. Con Auditorium is our 1,000-seat theater across campus in Scott Hall. The Guild Lounge is also in Scott Hall, another event venue that many people are familiar with. Then we have Performance Hall and Great Room, which are both buildings also on Sheridan, further north in 2122. Shanley Pavilion, all the student theater orgs are familiar with, but that is our black box theater on campus. And Ryan Auditorium and Letkin Hall are academic spaces that we share programming with. They generally reserve those, or academics generally owns managing those during the daytime, and we take over for events in the evening and sometimes summer time. There's a big asterisk next to outdoor venues. We will get more into those later in the presentation because those are managed a little differently. When Norris doesn't manage outdoor events across campus, we do help facilitate the reservation process and can always be a resource for those. Okay, so how do I book spaces? 3 ways: in person, 3rd floor of Norris, by email, or through your own online web request. Some of our larger spaces require a conversation and can't be requested online only, so if in doubt, always start with stopping in to chat with us or shooting an email. Some of those bigger spaces like Con, Guild, or the Lewis Ballroom in Norris do require a conversation because there's just more pieces to manage than just requesting it online. Online requests happen through Mazevo. We'll get into that too. It's our reservation software. It's actually very easy. You already have an individual account through single sign-on. So you can sign in using your NUID and password. Most orgs are also already in there. If for some reason you log in and yours is not, email us to get that set up for you. We're happy to get it all in there. It is important to note that a chart string is required to book any Norris spaces, even if the cost is free. Only registered student orgs in good standing can reserve space. When do I reserve space? Honestly, as early as you can. We accept reservations up to a year out through our advanced scheduling process, and some of those spaces do fill up fast. Advanced scheduling dates for the whole year are on the Norris website, so we strongly suggest you check those out and put them on your org's calendar to make sure it's on someone's radar. Advanced scheduling is your chance to put in a request for your annual events before the books even open up to other potential clients. Basically, it's a way to get first dibs before, say, departments or external clients ask for space. It is a way to give you priority access. So mark those dates. If you don't do advanced scheduling, you don't have to, don't panic. Just reach out to us and ask as soon as you do have an idea of when you might want to host your event. The magic number is definitely 2 weeks for events inside Norris. That's the absolute latest most events can be booked. This is also the deadline for us to have all final details into your reservation: schedule, layout, staffing and equipment needs, run of show. So that really is the latest to reach out, but as early as you know, we're willing to have that conversation. Once your event is reserved and entered into our system, you will have an event planner to work with to coordinate all of those details. Many events require pre-production meeting to chat through specifics. Smaller ones can be coordinated via email. Our team will guide you through that. Regardless, you will receive an email confirmation from Mazevo with all of your event details spelled out. It is critical that your team reviews these confirmations and the details in them to confirm they're in line with your expectations. and reach out to our team and your event planner with any adjustments prior to that 2-week deadline. I would never just assume same as last year is going to be correct, because after that deadline, we cannot guarantee we'll be able to accommodate changes. This is our handbook, and all event setups will come from the details here, not from emails you may send or verbal conversation. So this document is really critical that you review, double check your details, tell us what maybe needs to change, and then we sort of lock it in, and those steps go out to the team that is going to be doing the setup for your event. If you find yourself in need of an event space for a date within that 2-week deadline, you're still welcome to reach out and ask. We are always able to ask, and sometimes you might get lucky and it'll all align and we can accommodate something last minute. We just can't have guarantees in that time range due to staffing considerations. With one exception. New this year, student orgs are now able to request, I went ahead too fast. Student orgs are now able to request our standard set conference rooms up to the day they are needed. These are the rooms that have permanent furniture, thus requiring no setup. Also, all of this is on the Norris website. These rooms are the Alumni Room, Chicago Room, and Scholar in Norris, and they're reservable by student orgs only in 90-minute blocks, Sunday through Thursday evenings. Again, you don't have to memorize all this. It's all up on our website, but those are the ones that are available to request super last minute, even day of, if you're like, we need a place to meet, what's available. Norris reservations generally come with access to existing AV equipment in each room. There's a great spreadsheet on our website that lays out what is included in each room rental in terms of AV. Some events require more, either equipment or staff to run it. These are conversations that will be had in your pre-production discussions that will guide you through. And there's a fee for additional equipment or personnel needed. So the earlier you're able to share your event tech needs, the better for us to plan and get you an accurate budget. Costs, 4 tiers. The current rate sheet is on our website, but what is most important to know is that events inside Norris are free for students to reserve space. This is a little different for the PSV venues, which we will get to soon. But event reservations for student orgs are free, and they generally include furniture needs and tech equipment as described above. The fees you would expect added to that would be related to staffing. So if techs are needed on site, for example, which some spaces require, or if you just have high tech needs, or special equipment requested, extension of hours if approved, and of course, food and beverage ordered through Compass Catering. Please make sure you spend time with our policies on our website to avoid any additional fines or fees. No one wants to be surprised with avoidable excessive cleaning fees or catering fees that they weren't expecting. One more note about space access is it is standard 30 minutes prior to your reservation time, 60 minutes in Guild, but we'll get to those differences. It's important the reservation time is correct on your confirmation so we know when to expect you in the room. So if your reservation says your event is from noon to 3, you can have access at 11:30 a.m. and the commitment our team is making is to have the room ready for you per your diagrams for that half-hour window before your event start time, unless a prior conversation has been had. Okay, let's talk about PSV. This is how things differ slightly with our satellite spaces. Unlike Norris, PSV spaces do have rental fees associated. This is because these spaces do not have standard business hours, unlike Norris, which is open at a standard time. All of these things are scheduled a la carte as a result, including a staff member to be present anytime any of these spaces is used and let you in, and often tech staff too. Evanston requires a 2-week schedule notice to employees, and we do everything we can to respect this for our employees because they need to know their schedule. So this is the biggest reason we have to remain really firm on the timeline here. In addition, anytime the space is used, locks and custodial setups have to be arranged a la carte. All of those reasons are why these spaces always have a charge. These items have costs, unlike in Norris, where it's part of the building operating day to day. So the exact fees for each space can be found on the Norris website. We keep it low for student orgs, but there are costs directly related to those spaces. A couple of quick notes about how things differ in individual spaces. Most of the points in the previous slide apply. The couple unique notes to run into is Guild Lounge. This would be the reservation. This is just the email to use if you would like to speak to someone directly about Guild Lounge. But also for all of this, you can always email Norris Events and we can dispatch to the right person. We'll talk about the catering later on. Con, this is the email directly for the con folks in terms of how to reserve. Con does require longer lead times due to the nature of events and the annual calendar. Usually things in con are not a day, they're usually a week or a month rental even for some of the longer performances. So those do have some longer lead times. I would reach out a conversation with our con team as soon as you know you might want to have an event in there. Great room and performance hall. Couple quick notes. The great room, unfortunately, is not ADA accessible, so that is an important note to make. And there's no air conditioning in either of them. As a result, the summers are dark. We do not program those two spaces in the summer because we just cannot control the temperature. It will be in there. And then I mentioned earlier for Lutkin and Ryan, those are classroom spaces, so they are not part of advanced scheduling. We're not able to plan a year out. We are waiting on the academic schedule to come to us to know when we can program those spaces. So for those, I would reach out directly to Jason for dates in those spaces. Or again, our normal email, we can get you to the right person. There is no food allowed in Lutkin and Ryan halls. There are not even catering, no food because they are classroom spaces. That is just an agreement we have had to make for those two rooms. If you don't know the space that you want, reach out. We're experts in our spaces and we're happy to help figure out what's best for you with you and talk you through sort of what you want to do and what is available. Catering is everyone's favorite topic. All Norris spaces, aside from Guild, require Compass catering, use exclusively. This also applies to beverage-only events. For specific cultural or religious food service requests, events should still begin with Compass. If they're not able to provide the food themselves, or if a specific restaurant is desired, Compass will still be your event's contracted caterer and will contract with the desired restaurant for the food elements requested. Compass does not co-cater. Regardless of the food source, Compass would still handle all the elements around the event. This includes things like storage, utensils, service, keeping food at temperature, beverages, linens, all the cleanup. So no matter what, for events inside Norris, Compass is your one-stop shop. That said, they can, with enough notice, work with you to acquire food, a specific food from an outside restaurant if there is a cultural request. For smaller events needing no service and small orders, Compass's retail locations may be used. The catering office is still the place to begin with in requesting these pre-order forms. What this means is that you can use a form to pre-order food from the ground floor retail locations instead of going to the full catering route. So I have a meeting for 15 people. We don't need it catered, but we really want to have pizza. Great. Reach out to Compass. They'll give you a pre-order form. You can work on what you want. Then you work with them to pre-order from Forno, which would be our ground floor Compass retail location for, we want to order 6 pizzas to pick it up on Friday at 5 p.m. because we're going to bring it up to alumni room for our meeting. That still counts. So when we say Compass is required, we are saying using our retail or catering are required inside Norris. Prepackaged snacks as giveaways are allowed on a limited basis. This policy is to allow for things like handing out candy at an org fair or giving away a culturally relevant snack at an event. Provided snacks are not intended to serve as a meal replacement, and the cost of snacks should not exceed about $35 for the event. What this means is it's not I'm going to Costco and buying cases of snacks and sodas and bringing them to my event as my workaround, so to speak. Also worth noting is we are a Coke campus, so we must stay in line with that for all beverages brought in and all food served. Events with no food should truly mean no food. If you're saying to our event planners, oh, we have no food, that's what you mean. It doesn't mean we're bringing in potbellies and we're not using food. That's just a very important thing we have to respect due to contractual obligations inside Norris and food safety. Okay, let's talk about how Guild is a little different. So Compass is still the preferred vendor for Guild, but they do not have exclusivity. Only Northwestern Catering is approved for drop-off service, however. If Compass is not used, catering staff must be on site. That means if you want to order coffee and lunch bag drop-off, where they just bring it, leave it, only Compass can do that. The requirements around using external caterers in Guild, the following conditions must apply. They must be a real licensed caterer and will have staff on site the entire event, which means no drop-offs or restaurant takeout. If not already on procurement's approved list, which we can help you determine, a university catering rider must be signed and filled out, along with the COI requested in that form. We can provide you that form and walk you through that process. The external caterer schedules a conversation or walkthrough with our team. If it's their first time, we prefer they come in person to see the space. If not, a conversation is easy. And they would review the policies and expectations with that caterer so they understand what is expected of them on site. Also worth noting, Compass does not co-cater. This means that an event cannot use alternate caterer for food, but ask Compass to provide beverages, service, or linens, for example. Compass would only come and do full service. In our other PSV spaces, quick note to say Great Room and Performance Hall follow the same Compass-only policies as Norris, and no food, as mentioned earlier, for events in Tech and Letkin due to them being classroom spaces. Okay. Norris outdoor spaces. Norris has 3 additional outdoor spaces we manage adjacent to the building. South lawn and adjacent pub rooftop patio space. So that would be here, this pink, and the Luna's rooftop. The Cohen lawn, which is the big area, is split into 2 reservable spaces, the Con Plaza here in orange and the Con Pavilion in red. They can be reserved together as one large space or separately. Now, these spaces are reserved the same way as Norris by reaching out to the event planning office, and the full Norris outdoor space policies can be found on our website. The important call out here is due to the staffing and additional approvals needed for these spaces. The general 2-week rule is extended to 3 weeks for these spaces. They require many stakeholders' involvement in any date requests due to how outdoor events and sound impact other spaces. So that longer lead time is both necessary for staffing and for getting those adjacent approvals from our neighbors. As usual, the further out you can put these requests in, the better, and the more likely you are to have success finding a date that works for your event. Also, a good rule of thumb, if you are requesting things in the Con Pavilion, is to reach out to us with a few dates in mind already. It is unlikely the first choice, not unlikely, it is not guaranteed that first choice will work with all our neighbors. So it's really helpful if you can come say, hey, we want to produce this cool event on the pavilion. What do these 3 or 4 dates look like? And then we can go and ask our neighbors that question as part of that process in approving your event. The pub and grill rooftop right now is part of a South Lawn request. So if you were to reserve the South Lawn, it would include use of that rooftop. Currently, Luna's pub itself is not a reservable event space. There is a little caveat that when school is not in session, say spring break or winter recess or the summertime, where those rules will be a little more relaxed and Luna's pub may be used as an event space. But while school is in session, it is very clearly open to all. People will not be turned away if they want to come and gather in Luna's pub. All outdoor events in these spaces do require an in-person walkthrough and pre-production meetings with our team. Our office will walk you through this whole process. Just know that there are a lot more moving pieces and they do require a couple meetings. And events in these 3 spaces do have an associated rental fee, even for student orgs, due to the additional staffing and facility support needed, similar to the PSV spaces. All of that is up on our website, and we can talk you through. Catering policies for these 3 spaces are the same as Norris. Only Compass can support these spaces. This does apply to catering or retail. Or you are absolutely able to have an event on the Con Plaza or Pavilion and have no food and beverage, just relying on folks going inside to our ground floor and getting food the normal way and bringing it out to the lawn. One thing to note is this green part of the lawn over here is not a reservable space. The intent for that space is that it is open to the public and folks can use it however and whenever. And this yellow pedestrian pathway is also a fire lane, and that must always remain open no matter what. Also want to note that if you reserve, say, the Con Plaza, but not the pavilion because you don't need it, we would never have competing events. We would never have two different orgs and clients doing one event in the plaza, one in the pavilion at the same time. It would just mean that that other space is open to the public and as though there were no events in that space. Okay, what about outdoor spaces around campus that are not adjacent to Norris? Norris Events does facilitate the availability and reservation of many campus outdoor spaces. Norris Events does not manage the planning of those outdoor events across campus beyond the initial reservation. To request an outdoor space on campus other than the three Norris spaces we just discussed, please log on to your Mazevo and put in an outdoor event request. You will be prompted to enter your event details, and that will kick off the approvals process on the back end. Due to the different folks involved in different spaces, this process does take a little longer as we gather those approvals. You can expect to hear back from our team within 10 business days of your request. Depending on the space requested and where it is on campus, there are different stakeholders and different adjacent buildings, security concerns, facilities concerns. So we have to gather those approvals. If you don't hear back from us within those 10 business days, feel free to reach out and poke and ask about it. Maybe there's a reason it's delayed. We're happy to field those requests. Once you receive your confirmation, you are good to assume that that space is yours for your event and proceed. Please do pay special attention to any needs of any particular space. Permits needed, often sound permits, access concerns, equipment rentals. I always suggest going to walk the space to make sure there isn't some big gash from a rainstorm, and address those things well in advance. We are here to help with your resources in that planning journey if needed. If you don't know where to start with something, feel free to ask us for guidance. We can point you to the right people with facilities. We can help guide you toward the resources to rent your furniture. We're absolutely happy to help, but those aren't spaces that we oversee in the same way that we do all of our spaces. So definitely pay attention to the needs of each individual space in your planning. One quick note is not all outdoor spaces on campus fall under our umbrella. If the space you're hoping to reserve is not listed in Mazevo when you're entering your request, it is possible it is either not a reservable space at all, or that there is a highly likeliness that it falls under residential services. There is a detailed map of this on our website under outdoor spaces. It'll help guide you to the right place. It lists all spaces on campus and sort of where they fall, whether it's res services or Norris, or perhaps they're not reservable at all. So I would just definitely check that out first. Or if you just need someone to help think through what the best space for your event might be, we are here to help. An important thing about that Mazevo reservation you do receive, that's sort of your proof that that space is yours. The fire pits, for example, I always suggest keeping it on you. Like be able to pull it up on your phone if you are at the fire pit on a Sunday reservation and NUPD happens to go by and say, "Are you supposed to be here?" "Yep, here's my Mazevo reservation. It's all mine." Great, that's all. That's the only way to really self-police who has what space around campus right now. And that's it. Thanks for listening and watching. We know it's a whole lot of information, but hopefully you walk away with a clearer understanding of the hows and whys around the various elements of hosting an event on campus. Feel free to visit us or reach out anytime. Here's the email again, norris-events@northwestern.edu. We are here to help. We love working with you, so come and chat with us anytime. And I wish you many, many successful events.